to you. I'm Mrs. Bolvin, and this is my Intro to Anatomy and Physiology series. Today we're going to talk about levels of organization in part 2 of that series. So, in anatomy and physiology, you can study on many different levels, and they're all interconnected with each other. So it might be good to know the different levels of organization. There's the atomic level, and you probably remember from somewhere in your past that an atom is a basic unit of matter. An example of an atom that pretty much everybody knows is oxygen. We have about 120 different types of atoms that are found or created, but not all of them are found in the human body. Oxygen, carbon, hydrogen, phosphorus, nitrogen, sulfur, those are kind of the biggies that are found in the human body. You don't find a whole lot of, cesium in the human body. Just don't find that. And here's a little representation of an atom. You probably, if you've taken chemistry, you know that this is not the most accurate representation, but it looks really good on the page, so that's why I used it. The next level of organization is the molecular level, and I want to remind you that a molecule is two or more atoms that are chemically joined. They're not just sitting in the same container together, they actually have to be joined together. And a molecule that pretty much everybody knows is water. The formula for water is H2O. And when you look at this little representation of a molecule of water, you see one oxygen, that's this blue centered thing here, and then two hydrogen, and they're sharing these electrons. The sharing of the electrons are what create the bond, and that's what gives water its properties. You could put hydrogen and oxygen in a bottle together for a very, very long time, and they won't have the property, both of those are gases, and they won't have the properties of water until they become chemically joined. The next level up the scale here is the cellular level, and you remember from biology that cells are the basic unit of life. And here's a picture of a white blood cell. This thing that kind of looks like a spaceship is a white blood cell, and it's attacking all these little yellow jelly beans, which are not jelly beans at all. They're actually bacteria. So that's an example of the cell. If you have a group of cells with a common function, that's a tissue, and that's our next level of organization. Up here in the corner, you see some kind of pretty cells that have a little fringe on them here. These cells are not just pretty faces, they actually have a function. And these cells are belong to a group of cell types called epithelium. These cells in particular happen to line your trachea and upper respiratory passages, so that if something comes along that like dirt or tar or something comes along that shouldn't go down into the lungs and will cause a problem, these little cells push it back up where it can be dealt with safely. If you take a group of tissues that have a common function, they make up an organ, and so the organ is another level of organization. And this organ over here is one that no one can live without. This is an actual heart. And heart is not just made up of heart cells. There are lots of different tissues that make it up. There are muscle cells, there are lining cells, epithelial cells, there are fat cells, there are connective tissues, all different kinds of tissues make up this organ, and it has all of these things are working together for a particular function. The next level up is the organ system level, and it's a group of organs with a common function. And you can use any system at all, but I use the respiratory system for an example for this. Respiratory system is your lungs and your trachea and your mouth and your nose, and all of those organs work together to help you with exchanging gases. The organism level is when you tie all of these things together. It's all these different organ systems that make up a living thing. And there's a couple of organisms that I'm a little bit partial two. They're my children who are both much older than this, and I don't think I could get them to sit next to each other quite so happily now. But they're organisms, so any chance I can to use their pictures. Here's a nice chart found in your textbook of the different levels of organization, and it gives you some examples of the different things that make up those levels. Well, that's it for this time. Thanks for joining me. Have a great day.